Okay, so today's been feeling pretty good. Most of the exercises that we've been All right, Rich O'Neill and Hunter Story here with Elite Functional Performance in Charlotte, North Carolina. Today we're talking about sciatic pain, some piriformis syndrome. We're starting to see these things come up a lot with people that are coming into our practice. We're looking at a pathology of folks that might end up spending a lot of time in a seated position, folks that might, be behind a desk for work. A lot of people end up spending more time than expected in the vehicle, picking up, dropping off kids all over town with school, sports, all that sort of stuff. So when we find ourselves in a position where the hip is being brought to a flex position and then compressed, seated and being jammed up a little bit, it's very common to notice in the back of the upper hip area, as well as down through the front of the hip, some of the general snugness that then could send some of the feedback coming down the leg, classic sciatic pain. What we're literally looking at here are muscles deeply embedded within the hip capsule of gluteus minimus, piriformis, even to some degree quadratus femoris. These are the muscles that tend to really get very compressed and short. So the strategy for us is, how do we come up with various methods that can unlock those muscles and create and restore better hip range of motion? I think a lot of times people are often directed through various outlets to a foam roller or things of this nature. So we're going to go through some stuff today that we've come up with that kind of takes that to the next level and provides the most effective mitigation for some of the pain related to the tight hips. Okay, so here we've got our foam roller, standard 6-inch diameter, 3 feet. We've also got a foam roller in a ball. They make the compressive foam that's in the same roller in a ball form now to kind of access some of the upper butt, around the hip kind of area. I've even done this over the past years with just a basketball or an overinflated soccer ball. It's got some density to it, so we can actually create some force, and it won't bend or be as compressive as like a tennis ball would. So we're going to get Hunter down here, and he's going to begin by kind of sitting on the ball. If we were to isolate his left hip as the side that's most affected, what we would generally do is take someone through some testing to see at what level their internal-external rotation of their hip is limited due to the muscle being very tight and locked down. So once we know that the hip mobility has been compromised due to the tension within those muscles, the key here is to isolate the area where things are most snug, the actual trigger point or the hot spot. Now, when we know that the effect of that trigger point is limiting the mobility of the hip, then once we've got him on the spot that feels most tender, we have to start to open up the hip and regain some of those lost degree range of motion. So what we'll have him do is take this foot in against the arch of that foot, and then once he's able to kind of find the spot that hurts, and you can always tell by looking at their face, he's then going to stop rolling and take that knee to meet the other knee about 8 to 10 times. We're looking at something that would be representative of the classic clamshell exercise. But we're basically now just opening up that hip into external rotation as we've got the density and the force on the muscle area that's most restrictive. So we'll have him do a bunch of those, and then we sometimes have to fish around, and he'll find another spot in there that's a little snug, and then we start all over, and we hit about 8 to 10 openers from that position there. After we've kind of flossed around that whole region and we have a good amount of mobility back in the hip, the next phase here is we're going to have him take this foot and put it up over that knee. I like to always dorsiflex that foot, so we'll pull that toe up towards the knee. Now he's going to commit to that left butt cheek and drive that knee down towards the ground as deep as it can go. And at this point here, what we want him to do is really start to oscillate and smear across that whole area, softening up that whole region that's been very restricted and very locked down. So with this, we usually would say somewhere between 1 to 2 minutes of movement, combined with about 8 to 10 openers on each trigger point. And we can often find, if it's classic piriformis syndrome or something related to those deep hip pocket muscles being tight, some of the pain through the sciatic nerve and things like that, this is a great method that can really start to bring some people relief and open up the hips to feel a little bit more freedom of movement. And so we might see somebody being able to sit more comfortably in the car for a long time, or when they're out walking their dog, not feel like they have to turn around too soon and head back because the things start locking up and feeling painful. Good. Yeah, I bet, dude. So like we were saying earlier, these movements and this strategy can very easily be implemented with a basketball or an overinflated soccer ball, something that's got some density to it. So Hunter will jump on and get on that right butt, open up that right hip. So it really doesn't take a lot of equipment. Odds are good you're going to find something around your house that you've already got that would be effective for bringing you some relief if this is the sort of situation that you've been dealing with in the hip and lower back. That's it. Dorsiflex that toe, drive that knee down. So be sure to check out our YouTube page under EFP Charlotte and access our full library of videos that have been very helpful for getting people relief from the everyday common issues and pain-related scenarios that are coming about from a lot of activity, a lot of everyday life. We've got a bunch of great videos on there that I'm sure will bring you guys some good information to plug in for you and your loved ones.